GoDaddy is the world's largest platform for small businesses and entrepreneurs. And what we do is we empower everyday entrepreneurs. We help your ideas come online. So when you think of something you want to start in life, you find a domain name. And we come into the picture to say how you're going to call your business, which is the most important and first step. And once you identified that and secured that, we help you grow that business. So that's really bringing your idea to some real life and some real tangible way for people to discover you, and then help you thrive through different products like emails and communication tools and social media tools and so on. Today, GoDaddy worldwide, we have 19 million customers. India, we are over 1 million customers. We are the leading market share player, and we have doubled our business in the last 3 years. Yeah, so we started our journey about 6 years back in India, and the first thing we did was that we knew we had the products, right? Domain is a domain, but the customer behavior to understand and adopt a product was our first step. And what we did was we started with a customer care center, about 40 people, and the intent was these 40 people would talk to prospective customers all day long to really understand how the behavior, the pattern, the purchase attributes which go into a consumer's head are different. And as you very well know, India is not even one country, right? There's South, there's East, there's West, there's North, and everybody thinks differently. So through a direct communication with customers rather than doing like secondary research, we today, for example, interact with almost 3 customers every minute, right? So the channel to talk to customer was our first big anchor. And once we learned, what does a customer need? They need awareness of what the product does for them. They need affordability. How much does it cost? Can I afford it? And then really the accessibility to a good customer care. And we pride ourselves, and you asked the differentiator, right? The biggest differentiator we have is our customer experience. We are available to our customers 24/7, no matter what price point you got the product for. And a lot of time it's not about a technical thing, but some educative thing, right? That they want to try something new, they want to build something. They bought a .com and they want to buy a .in. Should I name my business and so on, right? So that customer experience, being available when they want, was a big differentiator for us. Yeah. So first, as I was sharing earlier, India is a diverse country. So we really went regional language focused. So when we are trying to communicate to our customers, hey, what does a domain do for you? What does a website do for you? Why should you have a professional email? We designed marketing campaigns in multiple languages. So today, a customer in Kerala or Karnataka would want to hear that message in their own language, and nuances of communication are very different than a customer in Punjab or Haryana. So we have run marketing campaigns in over 7 languages. So that's one. Second, we had a very integrated marketing campaign approach. So we looked at TV, we looked at radio, we looked at print, we looked at on-the-ground events, we look at social channels. So basically spreading that awareness through multiple channels than one channel. And third, I think, we've used, you kind of mentioned Dhoni, but broadly we've used both sports channels or sports platform quite effectively, like globally. And I think we believe that, everybody has a passion about certain sport. And people connect with messages more, I would say, strongly when you're in their passion, right? So, for example, we've sponsored running events, and if you're a runner and you're like reading something, it connects to you more. So I think all the way from running to football to Formula One to cricket, we've really done that well. And also we use a channel called web developers, right? Today, when you want to start a website, you will likely go to a web developer. So we've developed.
Today, that's why I came to you. It becomes so easy,
right?
That. I was totally unaware of anything of these things. Today, I can myself build a website.
Yeah. So so it's simplifying the product and experience, and how do you. A lot of time, what used to happen was people buy a domain and then it becomes inactive.
Absolutely.
So we're trying to say, how do we activate a domain right away? Because the next intent is a website, and how do we kind of get that going?
Posting also comes.
Yes, of course. When you do, and within different plans, right? Because not every plan is for everybody. Somebody wants a starter, somebody wants an advanced. So how do we come up with flexible products and flexible pricing. And we also use influencers a lot, right? We believe, especially in smaller towns, right? Tier 2, Tier 3 markets are a big focus now.
Yeah, because it's amazingly growing. I've been seeing some of our research reports that tier 2, tier 3 towns are growing really
Yeah, I
fast.
mean, next 200 million internet users are coming from those parts of the country, right?
So how
And
do you target that?
so we've identified very local influencers, because for every local region there is somebody who they go to, right? I mean, they are web developers especially, because I not only need to buy a product, I need to understand what product, I need somebody to educate. So we're building a whole channel around web developers, right? We have a program called GoDaddy Pro program, where we offer these programs to web developers to service their clients, which is the end customer. So they become basically our trainers, and they become our so-called resellers, and we incentivize them, and also make it interesting for them to be a win-win, and that helps us go reach deep into the country. Second is mobile. We're using mobile a lot. As 90% of internet users today is from mobile. So how do we get our message out there? So last year we did this experiment with an app called Hello English, which is basically teaches people to speak English, but in tier 2 towns. And everybody wants to be an entrepreneur there, but doesn't know English. So the first thing they do is learn English. And we have built educational content around, hey, while you're learning English, do you know how to start a business and what does online presence mean? So here's what domain is, here's website. And so we are not trying to change the behavior, but be in the behavior which is already existing, which is like, okay, people are using apps to learn English, people are using mobile phones to be educated. We do trainings, kind of workshops all over the country. And very soon, we're in the process of launching an academy, which will be educating people on what does digitization mean, what does online presence mean, right? Because today there's this confusion of if you ask somebody, they may say it's Facebook, and you ask somebody, it may say website, and somebody may say Instagram, and we always say website is your own property. Everything else is a tool,
Absolutely.
where you don't own the content. Your website is where you own the content.
Yeah. So it's a very interesting shift. I don't know whether it's superb strategic marketing from guys like you, or what is it? 5 years back, if I take the trend, GoDaddy would be treated, or any of of you guys would be treated as a domain booking company. Today, it's a lifestyle enhancing experience giving company. How has that marketing shift happened all of a sudden? It's been very well done, whoever has done it.
Yeah.
From a domain booking company to a total lifestyle enhancing, changing experience. That's quite a change.
Yeah, so it's been a wonderful work of the entire, kind of marketing team across the world. But I think what we recognized was that clearly, domains was a, a means to the end, which means like people are buying domains. And I think we really become very customer centric to understand how do we kind of verticalize the messaging. Because, if you're an event management company, you want to hear something which is relevant to you and why you buying a domain and why you're building a website. If you're a fashion designer, you want to hear something. The message is the same, but how you hear it is going to be different, right? So we started kind of building this playbook around, how do we connect and talk to different segments in the language they hear, versus before it was here's one standard message. So I think that drove the connect, and then also started acknowledging them as who they are, right? They're entrepreneurs. We're not saying they're your domain purchasers. You're entrepreneurs, or your individual ventures, or you're a small business, you have a dream. And so the whole messaging is around their dream and their passion, and you can be what you want every day. And I think we really up-leveled and really kind of made it a very purpose-driven messaging and purpose-driven brand.
Yeah. Because I'll ask you that last question regarding the brand, and I'll come to you
Sure.
later. So, like I have always said, in all my workshops worldwide and everything, that all attributes can be copied anytime. You launch something, you put up a 10-floor building, your competitor can pull up a 15-floor building. What somehow can't be matched are the true values. NDTV was built on the power of its people. Of course, that moment that people started breaking, the company was taken over by Times Now.
Right.
What are the values of GoDaddy? that you think are unbreakable and unparalleled? Absolutely.
Yeah, I think the most important one is be customer obsessed.
Yeah.
And always say, you should fall in love with your customer's problem, not your solution,
Yeah.
which essentially means that the problem you identified will always stay. Your solution may need to change.
Yeah.
Because as the customer journey is changing, their business cycle is changing. The problems is still always same, right? How do I grow my business? How do I make more money? How do I get my brand more out? Those problems will be here forever. So I think we say, okay, we understand the problem. Our solutions may need to change as everything is morphing. So being customer obsessed, and I say be missionary first and mercenary second, which essentially means every morning you wake up and you say, okay, how I'm going to change the life of my customers. And what we do a lot is we actually go out and meet a lot of customers, what we call follow me home, which essentially means you go and spend 4 hours at a customer's workplace and just observe. Don't even try to be too probing. Just by observing the workflow of a customer, you start recognizing things which you can help them in, because they cannot articulate it, while you're a outside in person, you can articulate, right? So that, I think, differentiates us, because like I spend 20% of my time out in the field meeting customers, whether it's a shopkeeper or a construction person and so on, right? So being customer obsessed. Second is, I think, what we call the customer experience, right, which is our care center, which is a lifeline of what we do. We provide that support all the time, whether it's chat, whether it's voice, whether it's outbound. People just are able to access us when they need us. And then I think like teamwork and making your team count, because everybody has a team, right? And you asked about values. To be honest, if you take values of top 5 companies, they may not be significantly different. It's how you execute, right? And how do you empower people with those values, right? And I think we do a lot to kind of make sure employees are engaged and are happy and really waking up every morning trying to do the best work of their lives. Yeah, so I have always considered myself more an entrepreneur in a company, because I think the values of entrepreneurship are the degree of uncertainty and ability to deal with that, whether it's a product uncertainty or market uncertainty. So the first thing is always being missionary, which is that you want to wake up and first say, hey, problem I'm solving, and then making money, versus the other way around. A lot of companies do that, and if you think about the true north principle, right, which is really, you have employees, you have customers, and you have the shareholder value, right? So if you have great employees, they would serve your customers awesomely, and then you have a great shareholder value. So for me, it all starts with people. So you want to hire people, good people. B, you want to empower good people, because you hire good people and you don't empower them, you're not going to be any good, right? So I take a lot of personal interest, both in hiring and also learning from them, because it's a two-way dialogue, right? Second, I think, is about giving the right tools and processes, which is ultimately
systems and
process, and also like how do you create a culture of experimentation, right? You want to encourage people to bring new ideas, to experiment and actually fail. 9 out of 10 times they fail, that's a good thing, because now they're trying more. So how do you celebrate failure, right? So to me, creating forums within the company to celebrate failure, helps employees do more and push more and do kind of better and better work. Yeah, so I am like what they call servant leadership, because I think leadership is a is a responsibility and a blessing, and you're here to serve your employees and company. So that means essentially that how do you help people unpack the learnings they have, right? I mean, today a leader's job is not to have all the answers, but ask the right questions. And for me, when I go out of to meet customers, it helps me formulate the right questions. Absolutely. Because there is no source of truth than those customers, right?
Absolutely.
And I'm surprised, having worked in many companies, how fast companies lose in touch with the primary customer, right? Because if you do secondary research, it's a translation of a translation. And soon a photocopy becomes like a bad photocopy. So, being in connect with those customers helped me formulate the right questions, which I can ask the team. And then they go and help me find the answers. Second is, I think, vulnerability. I think a leader has to show vulnerability, because that's part of asking the question. Because I think old traditional leadership style was that even if you don't know the answer, you don't kind of bring it on. And I think vulnerability shows you don't, but you are seeking, and that brings vulnerability from other people because they feel like, okay, if leadership is doing it, I'm going to do it. And then third is, I think, like helping team deal with uncertainty, because uncertainty is part and parcel, the change is part and parcel. So I take a lot of my team to do, I'm also a sports fanatic myself. I've run marathons, I've done Ironman. So
You look like.
thank you. I mean, I just take the team out because, the bonding which happens outside your team day-to-day work, right? Totally unrelated to work. There's no substitute for that. And, people see different sides of each other, and then the camaraderie comes in and so on, right? And so, like building a human emotional connect, the employee should feel the leader's empathetic. I should feel my employees are like that. Is really, I would define. Yeah, I think this is where you're going to try to lead by example. And, I can tell you my social handle accounts, I get a lot of, I think first thing is to recognize the customer is getting in touch with you because there's something wrong, right? Meaning the business is suffering. So I think, and not to be judgmental of the tone or the harshness versus recognizing the problem. And I think to acknowledge that, hey, something is wrong. And my always answer is that we're sorry you're experiencing that, because let us diagnose that, right? I mean, so it takes clearly cycles to manage that. But I think once you start with that mindset, the customers also recognize that, yeah, okay, even if you can't solve it, at least you've recognized my problem and at least understood, what it can do. And how I translate that to my team is to say, if we promised something we couldn't do, then we haven't done a good job, and we go back to our team to say, we shouldn't do that. We should be really, just because of a sale.
Do you
right?
think customer handling is one of your very key components why a lot of people are switching from other accounts to GoDaddy? I think that's one of them. Problems.
Yeah, certainly, right? Because I think
because I think GoDaddy solves your problem very fast.
Yeah, I mean, one is we're accessible, right? And two, I think the whole customer experience is very much grounded on, let's first understand your problem and let's try to find a solution. And if you don't have a solution, how do we still help you, get along in the journey? So I think customer experience by far differentiates. It's the humanity behind technology, and that by far is our biggest differentiator. And then, through marketing messaging, right? You mentioned Tony, since we're kind of going to the end of the show. We also wanted to bring somebody who can connect to the tier 2, tier 3, and Mahi represents that aspect of a self-made person from a smaller town, and not something which is not authentic, right? When he talks about something about people believe, and people like, it's not like, oh, I can see that there's relatability in that, right? And now, of course, we're also part of the ICC World Cup, and again, that's part of the strategy to put the brand out to 750 million people watch cricket. So how do we scale it?